welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another reaction video. We got ranking all the SEC super teams in recent memory. Let's check this out.
And a lot of people
Now, for people that don't know, I'm a huge Alabama fan. You know what I'm saying? I've been since I was a little kid.
But in the last 10 years,
and I know, I live in Virginia. I understand we got a college football team, but they were never on TV back then. You know what I'm saying? And I fucked with Alabama's uniforms, and that's when, you know what I'm saying, red became my favorite color, bro, when I was watching them on TV. So, you know what I'm saying? That's the main reason why.
And today, we're actually going to talk about that.
You know what I'm saying? Watching Julio Jones and them boys back then.
Super teams in recent memory, and I'm going to rank them from 10 to 1. I'm sure many of you guys will disagree with it. So be sure to let me know your thoughts down below, as I don't think there's particularly a right or wrong answer here, but I definitely want to know your thoughts. And if there's a
I ain't gonna lie, the top three, yeah, LSU definitely got to be in the top three. You know what I'm saying? 2019, 2020 Alabama got to be up there, and who else would y'all put up there, bro? I mean, Georgia, one of Georgia's natty runs got to be up there too, bro. I ain't gonna lie. Texas, one of theirs got to be up there, like from like back in the day, with like, you know what I'm saying, with Vince Young. I ain't gonna lie, it's a lot you could put up here. OSU you could put up here
down below.
But it's gonna be an interesting
video. If you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe.
I'm just so ready for football.
Leave a like if you can support today's video.
Like real
Let me know
shit.
what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and rank recent SEC super teams.
I bet.
Okay, so at number 10, we're at 2022 Tennessee. They're by far the most least impressive.
Don't take me back to that. Hey, that nigga Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt completely fucked our secondary that game, bro. Like, I'm like, damn, where the fuck this nigga Jalen Hyatt come from? Because I ain't heard that nigga the whole season. Next thing you know, he going for like 200 yards, 4 tuds. I'm like, who the fuck is this nigga?
Still deserve a spot because
I'm
of how
like,
much hype
bro, we couldn't guard that nigga for shit.
Nutshell. They had
like,
the best
real
offense in the country, scoring 46.1 points per game. And
Hendon Hooker backing up Jared Goff.
Defense. They won 11-2 with a loss to number 1 Georgia and a really confusing loss to South Carolina, 63-38. But as we all know, Hendon Hooker was hurt in that game, but it was already out of hand before that. The Vols would finish the year ranked number 6 in the country and barely missed out on making the playoffs since they didn't make the SEC title game. Hendon Hooker averaged a first down every time he threw the ball, throwing for 3,100.
You think he ends up being Dallas,
picks.
Quarterback of the future?
Jalen Hyatt at receiver led the conference with 1,300 yards and 15 touchdowns.
Hey, I ain't gonna lie, these
Jalen Wright
Tennessee
ran for
units
875 yards and 10 touchdowns. And
blacks.
Jabari Small also had 13 more. The defense was more of a weak spot, with the team only having 31 total sacks and 11 picks. It really was a disappointing season for them in hindsight because of that one loss to South Carolina, but their offense was one of the best in SEC history, and that Alabama-Tennessee game that I went to back in 2022 will be the most impressive and insane game
Don't remind me,
I don't know
Do
if
not remind me, bro.
So at number 9, we're
I
at
was heated.
Texas. In Texas's first season,
What'd he say?
beat it. So at number 9, we're at 2024 Texas.
Okay.
In Texas's first season in the SEC from the Big 12, it was a success. They only finished the year at 13-3 and lost the SEC title game to number 5 Georgia, but I thought the Longhorns had a better season than the 11-3 Bulldogs did. Texas had the 29th best offense, scoring 33 points per game, and the 3rd best defense, allowing just 15.3 points per game, with the 7th most difficult strength of schedule in the nation. They went 7-1 in the SEC.
The one thing that confused me with them, though, they didn't really take that many deep shots this year, bro. You know what I'm saying? You got guys like Isaiah Bond and Matthew Golden. I thought they were gonna take like a lot more deep shots, but they ain't really utilized, you know what I'm saying, Bond's speed like that. I didn't even know Golden was that fast.
Yards, 31 touchdowns and 12 picks, which led the SEC.
The running game was really effective
accounted for over 1,700 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns, and then Matthew Golden, Isaiah Bond accounted for nearly 2,000 receiving yards and 16 touchdowns through the air. On defense, Texas finished with 46 total sacks, 22 interceptions, and both Jahdae Barron and Andrew Akuba ended up leading the SEC in interceptions with 5 each, and Anthony Hill led the conference with 17 TFLs. At number 8, we have 2023 Georgia. The Bulldogs did not win the title then, but they went a perfect undefeated in the regular season and looked like they were going to win their first straight title.
Guess who ended that, though?
Number 8 Bama in the SEC title game and were nudged out of the 14 playoff, settling for beating Florida State 63-3 in the Orange Bowl.
We still own them
niggas.
niggas.
Still a very talented football team, as they had the
still
5th
own
best
them.
offense in the country, scoring over 40 points per game, and the 5th best defense, allowing just 15.6 points per game. They replaced Stetson Bennett with Carson Beck at quarterback, who threw for nearly 4,000 yards and 24 touchdowns, and then Brock Bowers led the team in receiving yards with over 706 touchdowns, and then Dom Lovett, Ladd McConkey, and Marcus Roseme-Jacksaint helped create one of the deeper receiving rooms in the country at the time. Again, the defense was the strength of the Georgia machine, though, as they totaled 30 sacks and 14 picks, with guys like Jalen Walker, Tyke Smith, and Smael Mondon captaining the defense that was really good. Number 7, we have 2023 Alabama.
Yes,
Nick
our
Saban's
skate.
final team at Bama went 12-2, made the playoff, and lost to Michigan in the Rose Bowl 20-27. So why are they on this list? Well, because they are the team that blocked Georgia from making the playoffs in 2023, and they were the team that ended that mini dynasty that the Dogs were building. They scored 34 points per game and allowed 19 per game, which was outside
I
the
still
top
remember that
15
Auburn
overall
game,
metrics,
boy.
but they won when it mattered.
That
Their only
4th
loss
and
in the
long,
season
Milroe
other than the Rose Bowl was to
to
number 1
Bond.
Texas, and that was a revenge
I was
game
losing
that they
my
lost
shit. I ain't gonna
24,
lie.
and Texas moved to the SEC a year later. On offense, they are led by Jalen Milroe, who was taking over for Bryce Young.
Yeah, this game right
In
here.
a learning year, he still threw for 2,900 yards with 23 touchdowns, and also ran for 531 yards and 12 scores on the ground, to go alongside Jace McClellan's 900 yards and 8 touchdowns at running back.
I think McClellan
Jermaine
on the
Burton led the
Falcons
team
now.
through the air with over 800 yards and 8 touchdowns, and then Isaiah Bond was close behind with nearly 700 yards. On defense, true freshman Caleb Downs had 70 tackles, and Dallas Turner had 10 sacks, and Terrion Arnold had 5 picks. They were pretty solid for Coach Saban's last hurrah. I think they could have been a lot better, and to me they overachieved a little bit, but they won when it mattered. At number 6, we have 2015 Alabama. It's been a while, but the 2015 Crimson Tide.
Oh yeah, I
were
forgot
one of the
about
teams
Clemson.
that
Yeah,
solidified
Clemson. I ain't gonna lie. What was that year they went crazy? Was it 2018? Was it 2018? I don't know. It was the year. It was the year with Trevor. When Trevor, it might have been 2018. It might have been 2018. I don't know.
how good of a dynasty Nick Saban was able to build.
They had
With his
a
offensive
squad.
coordinator Lane
I ain't gonna
Kiffin
lie.
and defensive coordinator Kirby
T-Law,
Smart,
Justin
Saban's
Ross, T.
2015
Higgins.
Tide scored 35.1 points per game and allowed just 15. They went 14-1 with their only loss coming in number 15 Ole Miss, and that was only by 6 points. Their 45-40 victory over Clemson in the national championship game helped kickstart a 3-year arms race between Bama and Clemson. That was one of the most entertaining brief rivalries in college
boy, Mark
sports.
Cooper.
But what puts them on the list is the amount of star talent they had. While their quarterback Jake Coker didn't do much, Derrick Henry had over 2,200 yards and 28 touchdowns and helped them become one of the best backs in the NFL. That running back room also had Kenyon Drake, Damian Harris, and Bo Scarborough, and then both Calvin Ridley and O.J. Howard led the receiving room with nearly 1,600 yards between the two of them. On defense, they had Reggie Ragland, Jaron Reed, Reuben Foster, A'Shawn Robinson, Marlon Humphrey, Eddie Jackson, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Jonathan Allen, and Deshaun Hand, and they had one of the most dominant defenses in recent
And all
memory.
of them, I think, at
Man,
one point
Bama
have
was
been
loaded.
all-pro.
Okay, so before we get to the second half of the video, be sure to let me know which topic I should cover in my next one. So number 5, we have 2021 Georgia. Despite not being as good as their 2022 season, I do think Georgia's 2021 season was one of the best in SEC history. They went 14-1 with their only loss coming to Alabama in the SEC championship game, who they beat a few weeks later to win the national title.
We don't talk
I was
about
at
that.
that game.
We don't talk about
After
that.
starting off slow with a
didn't-
10-3
we- hey,
win
we
over
didn't
North
have
Clemson,
Mechie
Georgia's offense
or
would blow up to be the
J-Mo,
9th
bro.
best
So,
in the country, averaging
that
nearly
shit don't
39
count. I'ma
points
keep
per
it a
game.
buck.
Stetson Bennett was as good as he needed to be, throwing for 2,900 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 7 picks, while Zamir White and James Cook totaled nearly 1,600 yards between the two of them. Their leading receiver was Brock Bowers at tight end, who had just over 800 yards and 13 touchdowns. But their strength was on defense. They allowed
That
just
defense-
10.2 points per
They
game.
had a bunch of niggas. Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith, goddamn Malachi Starks, Kamari Lassiter, Javon Bullard. Who else, bro? I think they had Nazir Stackhouse. They had a bunch of niggas, boy. Oh my gosh. Smile Munden. Trying to think of some more, bro. Cause they had
Putting
a
down every
god
team
squad
they
for
played.
real.
Their defensive line had guys like Jalen Carter,
That Azeez
Jordan
Ojulari?
Davis, Devontae Wyatt, and Trayvon Walker, who went first overall to the Jags. They also had Nakobe Dean,
Yeah,
Keely
Nakobe
Ringo,
Dean.
Lewis Sine, and they were one of the best and
I ain't gonna
scariest
lie, Lewis
defenses in
Lewis
college
Sine is a
football
bust.
history. So at number 4, we have 2017 Alabama.
Yeah,
Crimson
I was
Tide in
expecting
that
to see
year
a
were
whole
one of the
bunch
most
of Bama
forgotten
ones in
powerhouses
here.
in college football history because of LSU's dominance a couple of years ago. The team went 13
So
and
top
1,
three
only
definitely
loss to
2019
Auburn,
LSU,
Jordan Hare,
2020 Bama.
26-14.
I think Clemson got to be
all
there
they did was
that
win.
year they
They had
had
the 15th best
T-Law.
scoring offense and the number 1 defense in the country, allowing just under
I think
12
it might have been
points per
2018.
game.
I think
They beat Clemson in the semifinal 24-6 and slipped past Georgia 26-23 for the national championship. Historically, it was Nick Saban's best defense he ever coached, as they had players like Rashaan Evans, Ronnie Harrison, and Minkah Fitzpatrick, and that helped Bama crush teams on defense. And then guys like Raekwon Davis had 8.5 sacks, Mack Wilson had the most interceptions with 4, Levi Wallace had 15 pass deflections, and then on offense, Jalen Hurts was the quarterback before losing his spot to Tua in the title game. Damian Harris had over 1,000 yards, Calvin Ridley was a star receiver, and then guys like Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs were also making their way up there. That team was scary, and the ending to that national championship was historic. At number 3, we have 2022 Georgia.
Okay. So they did it 2021 and 2022. Okay.
Dynasties
I can respect this. I ain't gonna lie. I can respect
back-to-back
this. I can respect
titles in 2021 and 2022, but I think their 2022 team was stronger than their 2021 team. They finished with the 5th best scoring offense in the country, scoring 41.1 points per game, and they also had a top 5 defense, allowing just 14.3 points per game. It's a little bit overshadowed by their 65-7 destruction of TCU, which was the worst national championship game of all time. But Georgia's 42-41 win over Ohio State.
Really, bro, we really had TCU in the Natty a few years ago. Are we serious? Bro, Max Duggan, Quentin Johnston, they had Darius Davis. They should have been nowhere near there, bro. Michigan really lost to them niggas.
One of the most memorable games in modern college.
Imagine losing to TCU.
This was Kirby's second national championship, and it was led by Stetson Bennett at quarterback, who ended up having over 4,200 yards and 27 touchdowns, as well as 10 rushing scores. Kenny McIntosh led a good running back room with just under 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. Both Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey combined for over 1,700 yards, and on the defensive side of the ball, Georgia had 35 sacks, 12 interceptions.
We all know what the top 2 gonna be.
And number 2, we have the 2020.
I can respect that.
Tide.
2019 LSU was different,
teams, but not the 2020 Alabama Crimson Tide under Nick Saban. They finished the year at 13-0 and won the national title over Ohio State, 52-24 in a game
that hurdle Najee had against Notre Dame was crazy.
They dominated on the offensive side of the ball with the second best offense in the country.
Smitty was going off every week.
5 points per game.
You know what I'm saying?
They were also good on defense.
That crazy one-handed catch he had against LSU,
as well as the 13th best defense in the country. On offense, they are led by Mac Jones, who led the country in passing yards with 4,500, and he also threw for 41 touchdowns. But they also had Brian Robinson and Najee Harris at running back, and wide receiver Devontae Smith won the Heisman, and this included a league-leading 1,900 receiving yards and 23 touchdowns. On defense, the Tide were led by Dylan Moses, Christian Harris, Christian Barmore, and Will Anderson. This team was scary, and a lot of people kind of forget about them, to be honest. So yeah, number 1 was never going to be disputed, as it was always going to be 2019 LSU.
Yeah,
you probably knew this team was going to take
you got to keep it.
As the 2019 LSU Tigers were such a special team in a lot of ways, and it's kind of interesting how good they were with a head coach.
We lost to them niggas.
It really wasn't anything
that
special,
year too.
But it was all about the players they had, specifically on offense. Joe Burrow at quarterback led an offense that scored over 48 points per game, and he threw for 5,600 yards, 60 touchdowns, and 6 picks to receivers like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and
it's already hard enough to throw 60 tuds in an NFL season, which is 17 games, let alone a short college year. That is crazy. How many games in college, bro? 13 around that mark? Gang.
Well, Clyde Edwards-Helaire ran for over 1,400 yards. They were also insane on defense, allowing just 21.9 points per game, and they were the 32nd best scoring defense in the country. Here's a list of some of the defensive players they had: Patrick Queen, Grant Delpit, Clevon Chasen, Derek Stingley, and Christian Fulton. But the tackle leader on the team was actually Jacob Phillips, who had 113 total tackles for the Tigers. They proved early on they were one of the best teams in the country by winning a shootout against Texas in Week 2, 45-38, but they were also good at winning other shootouts, like against number 9 Auburn, 23-20, and then number 2 Bama, 46-41.
Yeah, I remember
LSU
that game,
was special that year, and most of these guys have gone on to have decent careers in the NFL. I'm sure you guys have some disagreements down below.
And another thing too, I feel like one day, just one day, we're gonna have Joe Burrow, Ja'Marr Chase and Justin Jefferson on the same team, at least before they all retire. It's gonna happen. Whether people want to believe it or not, it's gonna happen where all three of them are gonna play on the same team, bro. Cause like it's kind of uncertain that, you know, that the Vikings are gonna be, you know, contenders for years, you know what I'm saying, for years to come. But as long as Cincinnati got you know, Chase and Burrow, they're gonna be in that you know what I'm saying, that contending conversation. But if Jettis gets fed up with, you know what I'm saying, with Minnesota, I could see him going to Cincinnati. Now, I would hate that as a Ravens fan, but like as an NFL fan in general, watching those three play again in the NFL would be disgusting. Now, they wouldn't need it because they already got T. Higgins, but imagine trying to guard 3 wide receiver ones. Yeah. Oh my gosh, that would be a cheat code. I ain't gonna lie, bro. But hey, man, I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Y'all let me know what other college football videos you want to react to. Without further ado, I'm out.
I'ma make them feel me, make them people when they show me. And if you don't know me, I'ma make sure that you know me. I hate to say it, but I really think I'm broke. But I know I'm chosen, I really know I'm chosen. I know I'm chosen. I was just lost a year ago, but now I'm focused. When good at sports, this microphone can be my trophy. Not taking drugs, I found a better way of coping.